Horror is evergreen, and its fans are one of the most loyal ones you will come across. We want a good horror flick that will creep us out, disgust us, take away our sleep, and keep the fear lurking in our minds for days. We rarely get any good horror movies these days, and even if some do come out, they go under the radar due to being low budget, not marketed enough, or having no well-known faces. Since the Conjuring universe became the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the horror genre, people have been digging for demons, dolls, and jump scares to make you feel that adrenaline rush. But the horror genre has changed so much, with lots of creepy cult movies like Midsummer and Hereditary and other experimental horror concepts that are sci-fi related or that showcase the horrors in the real world have also emerged. In this video, we will be talking about the underappreciated movies that deserve more attention from horror enthusiasts. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Huesera, The Bone Woman 2022. The Mexican-Peruvian film Huesera, The Bone Woman was released in 2022. A directorial debut of Michelle Garza's Cervera premiered at the Tribeca Festival. The story revolves around a young woman named Valeria, who constantly prays to Our Lady of Guadalupe to grant her the joy of motherhood. When she finally gets pregnant, she is overjoyed, but her happiness cuts short when an evil spirit curses her unborn child. From then, her body starts going through horrifying phases and her mind starts slipping away. Her paranoia and despair increase, and she is isolated from her family. The story is inspired by a very scary Mexican folklore and showcases the patriarchal society and the societal pressures that women have to go through. Huesera does not have enough jump scares that most horror fans crave. Nonetheless, it is still intense and horrifying. In My Mother's Skin, 2023, written and directed by Kenneth Dagaton, and premiered at the Sundance Film Festival 2023. In My Mother's Skin is a folk horror film set in the period of World War II in the Philippines. When the world was coming to an end in 1945, a rich family was trapped in their mansion in the countryside. The island was terrorized by Japanese soldiers, and Aldo, the head of the family, was rumored to have stolen the Japanese gold. In order to save his family, Aldo went out to seek help from the Americans, and in his absence, his wife's health was deteriorating. In desperate need, their 14-year-old girl Tala had to turn to a fairy, who appeared friendly but was actually flesh-eating. She had sinister plans in her mind while befriending the girl. This folk horror film explores the most ignored part of World War II history, the Philippines occupied by the Japanese. In My Mother's Skin is a spectacularly spooky film that gives all the feel of folklore that we used to hear at night as a kid. The historical setting and wartime also adds to the horror, along with the monstrous fairy. History mixed with horror is like the best cocktail genre out there. Bad Things 2023. A 2023 horror thriller film, Bad Things is directed by Stuart Thorndike. This is a classic abandoned building tale where Ruthie decides to stay in an abandoned hotel that she inherited from her grandmother. She brings along her girlfriend Cal and two of their friends, Maddie and Fran. To fix her troubled relationship with Cal, Ruthie stays in the hotel, despite feeling uneasy there. What follows is a series of supernatural spottings of previous guests. Moreover, you're in for some shocking truths, twists, and gore. This film is a tale of traumatic female rage and family relationships, with its strongest element being the cinematography, which sets the perfect eerie tone throughout. Every aspect of the hotel is explored and gives an unsettling feeling to its viewers. The director has drawn some inspiration from the iconic horror film The Shining to create that atmosphere. When Evil Lurks, 2023. When Evil Lurks, released in 2023, is a Spanish folk psychological horror film written and directed by Damien Rugna and internationally co-produced by USA and Argentina. The film is set in a rural community that is affected by toxic waste and industrialization. Pedro and Jaime are two brothers in that village who find out about a man possessed by a demon. The evil demon intends to take over a physical form and destroy the whole land. After several attempts to stop it, they fail and head towards their families. What follows is a hell of destruction, panic, rage, and horrifying deaths that make it difficult to sit through the entire movie. Despite being a brilliant horror movie with terrifying themes, this movie went under the radar, probably because it is in the Spanish language. This possession story is one of the best horror films to come out in 2023. Wilys Wonderland, 2021. Wilys Wonderland is a horror comedy film released in 2021, starring Nicolas Cage and directed by Kevin Lewis. This film takes place on a single night at a family entertainment center. When a man's car breaks down, a mechanic offers to help him repair it in exchange for the man working at an abandoned entertainment center as a night shift janitor. The man agrees and the owner locks him inside the center, putting chains at the door. As he begins his shift, he discovers that the 7 animatronic mascots there are alive and murderers. Throughout the night, the janitor attempts to save his life as the secrets of that place are revealed to him. A gory horror film that scares you but is also fun to watch? Yes, that is Wilys Wonderland. Nicolas Cage as the janitor doesn't speak a single word in the whole movie, and yet he is very impressive throughout with that aura he holds. Hatching, 2022. The Finnish horror film Hatching is a story about a young girl who is a gymnast. Her mother has a popular blog where she portrays her picture-perfect family life, and the girl Tenya desperately tries to please the mother. When Tenya finds a mysterious egg, she brings it home and keeps it hidden from her family, unknowingly endangering everyone's life. She takes care of the egg, and when it hatches, a creature comes out whom she calls Allie. As the story continues, you'll be facing some unbelievable and unsettling twists that will keep you on the edge and make you uncomfortable to sit through it all. Hatching first premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2022 and is directed by Hanna Bergholm. It is possible that the Finnish language was why this film couldn't reach a wider audience and went under the radar. You have to watch it if you appreciate fantasy thrillers with some bizarre but clever symbolism. Mad God, 2022. Mad God is an adult animated film in the stop-motion form. What is fascinating about this film is that it took Phil Tippett, who wrote, directed, and produced the film, a period of 30 years to finish it. A masked assassin descends into an underground world, which is an apocalyptic ruin. He is sent there through a diving bell and is only carrying his suitcase and a map. The masked loner starts exploring this ruined world, and we get to be a part of a grungy and mad otherworldly environment. Some circumstances land our hero in a horrifying situation and leave us, the viewers, horrified, but also in awe of this stop-motion world created by the genius Phil Tippett. The full circle moment will make you realize why they gave this title to the movie. Mad God was critically acclaimed upon its release and is worth the wait of 30 years. Anis Main, 2022. An experimental folk horror film that translates to Stone Island in Cornish, Anis Main is set in 1973. A voluntary wildlife worker lives on an uninhabited Cornish island where she observes a rare flower daily. The film transcends into a metaphysical journey where neither she nor we can tell what is real and what is a nightmare in that world. The eerie atmosphere and loneliness of the woman also contribute as an unsettling factor while watching Anis Main. Moreover, the non-linear narrative and hallucinations in the form of ghost encounters and past and future selves, along with the brilliant sound design, create a creepy premise, making the viewership experience even scarier. One thing scarier than losing the grasp of time is losing the grasp of reality. Released in 2022 and directed by Mark Jenkin, Anis Main is shot on 16mm film. An interesting production fact is that the film was shot during the COVID-19 lockdown. Saint Maud, 2019. Another great movie added to the psychological thriller list is the 2019 Saint Maud, which is the directorial debut of Rose Glass. When the young nurse Katie fails to save a patient's life in her care, she becomes a devout Roman Catholic and works in an English town as a palliative nurse. Now calling herself Maud, she has been assigned to care for a former American dancer, Amanda, who is sick with terminal stage 4 lymphoma. Maud believes that her only chance at redemption is to help Amanda, an atheist, find God. Therefore, she becomes obsessed with saving Amanda's soul for her own redemption, which leads to terrible circumstances. A24 has been acing its production game by bringing out some brilliant horror films over the years like Hereditary, Talk to Me, It Comes at Night, The Lighthouse, and The Witch, among others. The commentary on faith, madness, and salvation mixed with horror, along with brilliant sound design, production, and performances, makes Saint Maud worth a watch for all horror fans. Clock, 2023. Science fiction horror fans have a huge fan following of their own, as they bring together and serve fans from both genres. Clock is a horror film based on the theme of pregnancy that falls under this category. Director Alexis Jacknow created a feature-length film from her 2020 short film of the same name. Ella is a 37-year-old woman who is not interested in having a baby, but her friends, family, and society think otherwise. Her father comes from a family of Holocaust survivors, and in the fear of their bloodline ending, asks her to reconsider. Ella's husband, Aidan, suggests she go to see Dr. Weber. However, when she visits the doctor, Ella is asked to be a subject in an experimental treatment, for which she agrees and has an implant in her genitals. Thus commences a series of nightmarish incidents, distrust, hallucinations, and twists along the way. When you are with Ella on her journey of losing grip over her own body, her mind, and reality, her anxieties start kicking into you as well. The terrible consequences of a science experiment and the pressures of a patriarchal society eventually make her lose her identity. Clock is worth watching for all these factors, as well as the uneasiness that creeps you out, as it does to Ella. Hellbender, 2022. What would happen if one day you found out you have dangerous abilities your mother knew about, but hid them from you? This is what happened with Izzy in Hellbender. She lives with her mother in the woods, and together, the duo makes metal music. However, when Izzy meets a fellow teenager, she uncovers her family history with witchcraft, thus beginning her interest in the craft, which strained the relationship with her mother. Hellbender is a family movie. No, literally. It's written and directed by John Adams, starring his wife Toby Poser, and daughters Zelda and Lulu Adams. John himself is starring in the movie, and takes us on a ride of witchcraft lore with his inventive take. The Adams family shot this film in their home during the COVID-19 lockdown. It's so amazing to see such creative ideas and production come out of brilliant filmmakers during a time when filming a feature-length film was impossible. Possum, 2018. Matthew Holness's psychological horror film Possum is about a children's puppeteer, Philip Connell. Upon being forced to return to his childhood home, Philip now has to face his traumatic past. Philip has an unusual spider-like puppet, which is called Possum. He tries hard to get rid of it, but every time he disposes of it, Possum finds its way back to him. Just like the infamous Annabelle doll, who always used to find her way back to where it belonged. instinct. Meanwhile, Possum is different. It has its own story to creep you out. Possum is a haunting tale of bullying, childhood trauma, abuse, and loneliness of a boy. Having to face the rejections and reliving the trauma was a nightmare for us as much as it was for the protagonist, Philip. Holness took inspiration for the movie from his own short story of the same name, which was published in the new Uncanny Tales of Unease, a horror anthology. It is also partially inspired by Sigmund Freud's theory on the uncanny. Marvelous verdict. There's nothing called too much in a horror fan's dictionary. We've watched almost all the popular movies and always looking for the ones that don't get enough attention in the mainstream media across languages and countries. Although several films of the genre do come out every year, they seem to be running on similar ideas. The mainstream seems to promote conventional horror favorites like demons, spirits, and possessions, which makes it harder for filmmakers who want to experiment with horror and the supernatural world with their inventive horror stories to create one. Most of these films that went under the radar were the ones where the cast and crew were not very popular, or they were experimenting with different horror elements. Therefore, as a huge horror enthusiast, it would be pretty cool to see and support more movies and filmmakers that dare to follow their own path in horror by bringing out our fears on screen, or worse, unlocking new fears within us.